Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Check out our large assortment of logo merch and our lifestyle collection as well. Just head over to abvnetwork.com and click on shop. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. Finally, we are sponsored by the upcoming ABV Barrel Shop, a new liquor store experience coming to St. Louis, Missouri. The ABV Barrel Shop will serve as home to the ABV Network and will be owned and operated by Steve Akeley, Jim Fosnot, and Scott Creighton, a.k.a. the Barrel Buddies. To learn more about the investment opportunities in this new venture, listen to the ad at the end of this podcast. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we'll talk to Kerry Moynahan about her bourbon journey.
Nice.
My name is Miss Beka Sue. Please join me in welcoming my co-host, Steve Akeley, along with our special guests, Kerry Moynahan, Luke Otero, and Phil Collin.
Hey, everyone. What's up?
Hey, hello everybody.
Hello, everybody.
So we have a special show today. Carrie's going to be telling us about her bourbon journey. Should be fun. She's going to tell us everything we need to know, but we'll get to that after the break. For right now, Beka said there's something she was dying to ask us about. What is that?
So I talked to someone about this the other day. I don't know who it was, but I wanted to ask everyone about if there's a person that you don't actually know that left an impression on you for your entire life. And I can kick this off so you know exactly what I mean.
Okay.
When I was 14 years old, we went to New York City and we were going to the, it's a big museum now, the Natural History Museum.
Yeah.
And as we were walking out, there was this woman who was walking out and she was on her cell phone and everyone's standing there waiting to cross the road and the light's not changing yet. And she just walks across the road. She puts her hand out, continues to talk on her cell phone and just walks across the street with her hand out. And I was 14. I still remember this woman almost every time whenever I cross the street and it's not, and I'm jaywalking, frankly, I think of this woman and I feel empowered every single time. And I'm not kidding. She is ingrained into my brain and has made me, I feel like I am a stronger person because that woman was just like, yeah, go ahead and hit me. We'll see. And she just went, didn't care, didn't even look, just walked. Mm-hmm. And I think of that woman all the time. And I don't know if anyone else has someone that it's not someone you know, and maybe it's not they think about every time they walk across the street, but something that they just think about every once in a while. And it's partially changed your life maybe in some way.
Yeah. I'll tell you, here's one that I've gotten. It's got a bourbon connection here, a big time bourbon connection. And just because you say this, you spring it on us and you have to think on the fly. I'm sure maybe I could even come up with a better one that a story like Beka there, but I don't have anything like that. But I can tell you somebody who's had an influence on my life that I never met. And I don't actually have any real connection to other than through Freddie Johnson, and that's his father. And Freddie tells so many stories about his father and the life lessons that his father taught him. And it's had an impact on me. A lot of the things that Freddie's known for now are things that his dad taught him, like live in the moment. Don't put away that bottle of bourbon right now. When we got me, you, and your brother here, we're drinking and having fun. Don't put it away because it's an expensive bottle of Pappy. Let's drink and enjoy it. And make this the moment that this bottle's about. And there's just a lot of things like that. And Freddie tells a story about when his, sometimes people will judge people because they'll put a mixer with it. And he talks about when his father got really sick with cancer and just still the only way he was able to drink his bourbon was to mix it with ginger ale, and that allowed him to drink it. And he's like, don't judge people if you see him do it. You don't know why they're even doing that. There could be another reason for. So I feel like I've learned from Freddie's dad, even though I never met Freddie's dad, just because Freddie is such a great orator and has the ability to tell those stories. So it's kind of a cool thing that, and it's kind of what you want to do. You want to spread the legacy of someone that you love, like your father. And I think Freddie does a good job of that and allows us to learn lessons from someone who was passed away before we had the opportunity to meet him. So I think it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
How on earth are we supposed to follow that?
I know. I have two. I can think of.
All right, Kerry,
one
what do
we
you
were
got?
kind of
Also,
talking.
well, just hang on to add to Steve and to make the sob story, to make the tears come out anymore because it's not a sob story. Freddie went to work at the distillery because he promised his dad that he would do it one day.
Right.
And look what Freddie Johnson has
It's about
become.
keeping your promises in life. And yeah. And when Freddie tells a story, like he was going to mail it in for a year just so he could say he did it. And then he gets there and he falls in love with being there and meeting people and telling family stories and learning more about bourbon.
That's a pretty good Dave answer, Steve. About
thank you.
I'm going to do the Wayback Machine with mine. And I feel really old now that Becca said cell phone in her 14-year-old story.
Right.
We didn't
No one was
have
carrying a
those.
cell phone when I was 14.
I am almost 30. This was 20 years ago.
Honey, okay, mine is 30 plus years ago. So, all right. So, and it's kind of silly, but I thought about it recently. So when I was in either kindergarten or first grade, so way back, we went to Marine World Africa USA, which back then I believe was in like Foster City, and now it's in Vallejo up towards the wine country. But back then they didn't have roller coasters, and it was all about the animals and the music and everything. And I saw a live banjo player for the first time in my life, and he was playing Dixieland, and I was just so enamored. And my parents had to like pull me away to, okay, we got to go do some of the other things now. I said, no, I want to stay here and listen to the banjo. So I was stuck on, I need to play the banjo for years. So finally, like 3 years later, my mom's like, well, I haven't been able to find a banjo teacher because we were in San Jose, California, not many banjo players in Silicon Valley. And so she said, but the neighbor teaches guitar, so here, go play guitar. And I was like, all right. But I did still, have a love for music, and I ended up playing the guitar. And then later, when I went into junior high and high school, I played the trumpet. But I always, always, always had this love for the banjo. In fact, I saw during like Christmas sales on Amazon, they had a 6-string banjo that you could play like a guitar. And I said, wait, what? I could go play the banjo because I know how to play the guitar. So all these years later, I just bought myself a little banjo, and it's all thanks to this man that I saw playing the banjo at Marine World when I was in first grade.
Mazel tov. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
No cell phones, no pagers.
No
Just-
cell
just
phones
a banjo.
involved in that
Just
story.
banjos.
Just a man and a banjo.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom had a cell phone when I was a kid. She just got like a 60-foot cord on the landline phone. And she was able to go around even outside, inside.
And then you would run through the kitchen and get choked by the cord.
Right. Yeah. You had to roll it around like the thing, because it was too much cord at the bottom in the kitchen. So, yeah.
My first cell phone was so low tier, such a piece of crap. It was actually a rotary phone.
God,
that was
doing his material.
That was one of my tour bus
I was
jokes.
like, what is that? I don't
was
think I've seen a real one.
That was one of my tour bus jokes. That was good for a laugh every time.
There we go.
You've used it before, by the way.
Luke, anything from you? Anybody who's had an influence on you, but you didn't know, actually?
Yeah, and I still don't know him, but I got to hear him speak at this really nice banquet. This is about 31 years ago this month, actually. And it was Edward James Olmos. He was, it was the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce banquet, and it was huge, and all the politicians were there, the governor, the U.S. senators, the congressmen, and he took to task those individuals, basically telling them, instead of spending your money on all these other frivolous projects, whether it's defense or whatever, you ought to pay the teachers the most money and start with the high school teachers. And then he said, no, better yet, why don't you start with the mid-school teachers? He goes, no, better yet, the elementary teachers. And finally he said, you need to pay the kindergarten teachers the most money because they're the ones that are going to have the most impact on your kids. Yep. And they're going to make them prepared and better. And if you can't teach them now, you're not going to be able to teach them later. And for some reason, I've really taken that to heart, especially now that Victoria, my daughter's a teacher. She's a bilingual teacher in the Albuquerque public school systems. And she's taught the kindergarten, and she's teaching them Spanish and English. And what a treat, because I put that speech in my mind and said, but I see what she's getting paid. I said, man, nothing's changed, but they're still doing it for the love of doing it.
Right.
And so I hope that changes, but that speech gives me hope that someone's out there is paying attention to what the educators really need to be paid. And Phil, you got young kids. Beka, you're probably going to have kids.
Yes.
You're going to want the best for them early on, and till the end. But it's at early stages of the education that have the indelible mark on them. So that speech from Edward James Olmos, and I don't know him. I didn't get a chance to shake his hand, but I always remember that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
By the way,
They got a
kindergarten.
little serious on that one.
They did. Kindergarten, by the way, invented in St. Louis.
Nice.
So once
There
again,
you go.
everything comes through St. Louis.
No one was sending 5-year-olds to school before someone in St. Louis came up with the idea.
No, they were like 6. You got to be 6 to get into.
Isn't kindergarten a German word?
Well, we have a nice German community here. Makes sense. Or maybe they just took it from something that I don't know the background. Check it out. Fact check me if you don't believe me. Fact check me. Yeah, I don't think you will, but if you do, you'll see I'm right.
What about you, Phil? What's your story?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have much. That's a funny cast. But when I was 14, I got caught up in a scheme trying to stop some treasure hunters from profiting on some lost treasure in a far off part of the world, and the items belonged in a museum. So we had a back and forth chase.
Wait, this is real?
No,
back and
he's
forth
doing
chase.
his
This sounds like a
material.
movie.
He's doing his material.
And then eventually they ended up besting me and getting the items. But this guy who I'd never seen before and never seen since looked at me and said, "You lost today, kid, but you don't have to like it." And then he gave me his trusty fedora, which I wore for decades after.
This sounds oddly familiar.
Yeah.
Unique experience only to me.
Was his name Indiana?
I don't remember specifics like names or faces, but I do remember he said that you lost today, kid, but you don't have to like it. And I set off on my own goal to put artifacts in museums and take them from treasure hunters. So that was one encounter that changed my life.
Any artifacts into museums yet, Phil?
Well, I'm working on it. It's a work in progress.
Well, you should seek out a slam dunk by makers and get that to the museum in Louisville.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That would make a great movie.
They have a slam dunk. Yeah. All right.
Very
Well,
cool.
guess what, gang? It is time to drink. What is everyone drinking? Let's start with Beka this time. Beka, what do you got there?
I have got
Yes.
some Woodinville straight bourbon whiskey. This comes from where is it? In Washington.
Yes.
This is a gift from someone. It is 90 proof.
Fair enough. Oh, not much there. Sorry. You got the lead. I did hear it. So you got the lead. I've got the Watershed there, bottled in bond. So let's see what we got here. I'm hopeful here. Bottle's pretty full, so I'm hopeful. Terrible. Actually, legit bad. That was embarrassing. I think I've got the lead, though. As embarrassing as that was, I got the lead.
For sure.
Yeah. So, all right, Luke, you're next.
All right. I think I'm going to go with this Russell's Reserve single barrel.
Okay.
It's been open, but let's see what happens.
Okay, that's the lead. That was good.
That was good.
That was legit. All right, Phil, you're next.
We spoke of Buffalo Trace earlier. Now I have Buffalo Trace everyday sipping whiskey. Oh,
No,
God.
nothing there. Nothing there.
Disappointing.
Kerry, you're last. Luke has the lead, though.
All right. I am going to be drinking today another barrel proof pour bourbon. It's a 128.4 proof, and it's from 219 Distillery in Colorado. But this one that I have is a sample, so it's a twist off. So I'm going to open this other bottle.
Is it 291 or 219? It's 291.
Oh, sorry. Did I say? See, this is my dyslexia getting me again. 291.
I was going to say, it'd be pretty weird if they have a 291 and a 219.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's my dyslexia. Always causing havoc.
Carrie, you're using another bottle, but you're going to drink something else?
Well, yeah, because we're talking
See,
about.
there's a flag on the play there.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I
There's
could screw it,
a
but
flag,
That's
flag
it.
on the field. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
You won't be the
Screw
first
top.
to use a screw top.
No,
Well,
screw tops happen.
that's what they sent me with the sample. So I'll just do a screw top. So I'm going to lose automatically.
All right. Luke was trying to preserve his victory there. I'll tell you
Damn
what.
right.
Luke,
These are
Luke,
far and in between. So
Luke was playing defense there. You don't normally play defense in the cork pop, but he was.
I fully back up Luke's flag on the field here. It is. It's correct.
Yeah, fair enough. So Luke wins. Cheers, Luke.
Here's
Hey.
Go, Luke. Cheers, Luke.
cheers, everybody.
Ooh, that's
take
hot.
a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to be talking about Kerry's bourbon journey. We'll do that in just a few. Hello, this is Steve Akeley of the ABV Network. Let's talk about the people who make this show happen. First up is Leatherwood Distillery in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Company founder Andy Lang started distilling as a hobby while serving his country as an elite Green Beret. Andy distilled all over the world during his time in the military and brought this passion back to him in the U.S. when he returned home. A visit to Leatherwood combines Andy Lang's unique distilled spirits and a museum of artifacts from his time serving the U.S. Share a drink with a fallen soldier at their bar where you can grab an acrylic bio off the wall that celebrates the individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect his or her country. They will also ship their distilled spirits directly to you, so check them out at leatherwooddistillery.com. Hi, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network. We're sponsored by the Stave and Thief Society. This is where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge a bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification program available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of InPerson and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at neelyfamilydistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky.
Hello, this is Danny Kennard, and I'm recording on the ABV Network.
Welcome back to the Bourbon Daily. Today we're talking to Kerry about her bourbon journey.
Yes, we are. So, Kerry, I guess we're just going to throw it at you first and just tell us what you want to tell us here.
All right. Well, I'll tell you about my bourbon and then into whiskey journey, I would guess, because I started with bourbon and then I've kind of started exploring all the other whiskeys, which I think makes it a very vast journey, really.
Okay.
So, you know, in college, not so much on the hard liquors. It was all, you know, frou-frou drinks and all that nonsense and mudslides and Midori sours and daiquiris and all that. Then I moved to Los Angeles after college, and my best friend from college came down for a visit, and we went to the Dresden on Vermont, which you guys probably know from the Swingers movie. And he said, "Oh, we gotta have some whiskey." And I said, "Oh God, whiskey, that's like the old man's drink." And he's like, "No, it's great." He's like, first you got to start off with your maker's mark. And I was like, okay. So he gave me some maker's mark and I was like, oh, I like the bottle. It's got the fun little dip top. That's great. So I started off on that. And then we went down the street to the next place. And he's like, okay. And then you got to start going to your Bookers and your Knob Creeks. And then, once you start getting into the higher end bourbons, then it's time for you to start going into like Scotch. And I was like, are we going to skip like Tennessee whiskey? And we're going to skip. So at first I thought he knew all about whiskey. Well, if you talk to him today, he says that I have surpassed the master because now I'm teaching him all kinds of things. So after I started getting more and more into different whiskeys, I really don't drink any of the frou-frou drinks anymore. I barely even drink wine anymore. And I just look for all the different flavor profiles that I can in bourbons, ryes, American whiskeys, Tennessee whiskeys, Irish whiskeys, and Scotches, and Japanese whiskeys. And I've been known to have some
beautiful
whiskeys. So, it's been a very vast journey now for about 15, 20 years.
Nice.
And I took the love of whiskey and started doing a TV pilot a few years back that got picked up, got optioned. And then, of course, they said, oh, well, you need to make it more like Duck Dynasty. And I said, that's not what this is about. So I said, well, I'm not changing the story. It's about whiskey. It's not about the guy who's making the whiskey. I'm not going to take his family and make him lie.
Right.
So I kept plugging along. I now have a pilot in post-production that we started before the lockdown. And during the lockdown, since we were locked down, we had to stop production, but we had done a crowdfunding. And I said, this is going to be a lot more than the 2 weeks they said it's going to be. So I feel like I got to give back to the people that supported. So we started Spirits of Whiskey, Philip Dobart and I, co-hosting the Spirits of Whiskey podcast. It was supposed to be a temporary thing. It totally took off. We were doing it so far for 2 years. But now that we're both back to work, the scheduling is getting more and more difficult. So now it's more on a specials schedule, and I have moved on to start producing Barrel Room Chronicles, which Steve is a guest on the show.
Yep.
And it's been a lot of fun having people from all over the world talking about whiskey, drinking whiskey, sampling whiskey. And so basically trying to take my little hobby to my career level. So
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Very cool.
What do you guys want to ask her? What do you want to know?
What was the first whiskey that you had that made you realize that like you liked whiskey before it, but there was one that like blew your mind?
Direction, yeah.
I think it was the first time I had a Scotch, a Speyside Scotch. I was working at TMZ back in the day.
Nice.
TMZ, and I worked in the control room, and I had the job of feeding the show up to the satellite. Was part of my job. So at the end of the night on Friday, it was me and 2 other producers. Everybody else had gone home, and we're watching the show go up and waiting for it to go up because you have to watch it. And then, of course, the last 5 minutes, they realized they put the wrong date. So then we had to go have the editors fix it. And then we had to watch it for another hour and I was like, it's like 11 o'clock now. And one of the producers comes over and he goes, you deserve a drink. And I was like, we can't drink in here. He goes, okay, well then let's go outside. And he pulls out a Macallan 12. And I was like, oh, that's expensive, kind of, for us young folk that didn't have big money. And I thought, oh, I like this kind of caramely taste. I think I should start exploring Scotches now. And then that's when I really kind of started thinking, there's so much. I said, this is kind of like wine. Everyone's always talking about how there's different this and different that with wine. I was like, it's the same with whiskey. And that's really kind of where it just kind of took off. And I started tasting all. And then they started bringing tastings out. And I found out about whiskey clubs. And I started joining all the whiskey clubs in the area. So, yeah.
Nice.
Who is...
I've
got another follow-up question.
Fair enough. Miss Beka Sue and the Miss Beka Sue and Phil interview show is off to a rough start, I think.
Who's the coolest person that you've gotten to share a glass of whiskey with?
Oh, that's so hard. In person?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
in person versus in this situation where we're doing the interview over the phone. Okay. In person. The coolest. See, that's hard because if I was going to say in general and doing tastings over the phone, there would be a giant handful of fantastic makers that I've done. But in person, I think probably I'm going to go with an actor, John, who is on This Is Us. He plays the grandfather. I was with him on a project we were doing, and we had time to kill. So he said, let's go to the bar. And I said, okay. So he was the most fun person actually in person, because I got to teach him something, which is always cool. Gosh, there's been so many. I mean, I've talked to Julianne Van Winkle. I've talked to Nicole Austin. I've talked to so many great whiskey people that's really a toughie.
You're talking to 4 right now, too.
Right.
True. I would have said Luke Otero.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would too. So
Yeah. Well. Phil, what did you want to ask?
It sounds like you're a fan of whiskeys the world over. So I want to paint a scenario, and I'm always eager to hear people's answer for this. So it's a red carpet night. The Emmys, you've been nominated for a major award in a particular production you worked on. You're walking down the red carpet, you're having a blast, and someone comes up to you and they said, "Would you care for a drink tonight, Miss Moynahan?" And you say, "Well, what do you have?" And they say, "Because it's the special event, we have every whiskey you could ever imagine."
If only that were true. They
And it's
usually
all-
have one blend and one not blend. And it's usually the not great stuff.
Yeah, it's
But
all
anyway, I like your fantasy. Go ahead.
and there's it's all complimentary. Which whiskey would you choose to mark such a fun occasion? What would be your dream whiskey in a great night like this?
I would say I would like to pick something that I haven't been able to try. Probably something with a 20 to 25 plus age range and something very rare. Wouldn't mind trying a Pappy, an older Pappy, because even though we had him on the show, we couldn't sample any. So that would have been great. Any number of those ones that they sell for thousands of millions of dollars
Sure, yeah.
at the auctions, that would be cool. I think if it was something like that, I would pick something that's really untouchable any other way.
Very cool.
Yes.
yeah.
Luke, anything you want to know?
Yeah, so there's the TV series that featured bourbon from Kentucky.
Justified
Justified, correct. So
with Walter Goggins.
exactly.
It's my Walter Goggins impression.
That was
Isn't it
very
Walton Goggins?
Walton? Whatever.
So Kerry, if you could, I guess, produce a bourbon show, what would be the, other than Justified or something else, where bourbon is featured prominently and
Well, that would depend on the genre. If I was going to do a drama, I would want it to be some kind of a intense mystery type, thriller type show. If it was going to be reality, that would be what I have that I'm working on right now with Chef Louise Leonard, who's season 2 winner of The Taste, where she travels the world tasting and cooking with what she tastes. So she either pairs with or cooks with the various different whiskeys and comes up with different recipes.
What a great show.
because you got like billions. They're doing Michter's. And Justified is doing basically Blanton's and everything else that comes across their table. But I just think it's cool. Well, good. Thank you.
I wrote one season of a TV series of a comedy, but we never produced that. At the
well, we should
maybe
talk
one day.
Maybe that working.
Kerry and I can partner up on that. We can get that going. I'd have to revisit that because Beka's in there, but Beka's single and now she's married. So and Royce is single in there. So I'd probably have to update it because it's this kind of Quentin Tarantino-esque thing because it's like the real world, or Larry David, where
nice.
the real world kind of blends in with this fake world, and some of it's true. Like Royce Neely plays Royce Neely, who's Royce Neely, but there's also a lot of fake stuff in there too. So it was an interesting concept. But we were gung ho on it for a while. The pilot is fantastic. I think even Phil was going to be in the pilot. There was a card game at Bourbon's Bistro in there.
Oh yeah.
Phil's head just perks up. What? I was going to be in the
Phil
pilot.
was going to be in there. Yeah,
I
he was
remember
going to be part of the cast. Yeah,
Okay, Luke, you were going to be in it too. He just didn't tell you.
No, my agent is still waiting for the phone call.
Anything else you want to know about Kerry's career? Anything else you need to know?
I want to know more about next time I'm in the City of Angels there. What's my best bet for a good bourbon pour? What bar should I add to make a beeline to the minute I touch down?
For bourbon, I would say probably heading over to 7 Grand because they have just an entire wall of whiskey where they have the ladder that you have to scoot along.
Oh, nice.
They have so many things there, all kinds of whiskeys, but they do have some barrel picks that they do for themselves. And you can't get anything else but whiskey there. I think that's a good spot. If you do like Macallan, there is a very high-end Macallan bar in, what's the name of the hotel? I can't think of it. A swanky hotel in Beverly Hills. I'll have to look up the name. I can't think of it, but that's a great, if you're into Macallan, they've got a great Macallan bar.
Nice.
Speaking of the bars, I think this is a very important question. If you're going to get a whiskey cocktail, what is your whiskey cocktail you're going to go to?
Okay, well, I have 2 depending on the bartender, really.
Okay.
If I'm going to make it myself, I will do, and don't shoot me for saying this, but it will be a perfect Manhattan, but rye. I like the rye with perfect, and I also switch out orange bitters for cherry bitters. But I also do like a good old fashioned if I can get a bartender that can make it correctly. So
there you go.
That's the
Molly
main
Wellman.
problem with the old fashioned is
it's tricky.
You get it and it is horrendous.
All over the place.
Yeah.
I
got back to your question, Phil. There's another bar here in North Hollywood that I like that's called Idle Hour, and it's actually shaped like a barrel. And they have a decent whiskey collection, or selection rather. But the bartender there, I can't think of his name, but I know what he looks like. So if you go with me, he's the one to make the old fashioned. It's really good.
All
right.
There you go. I heard the Viper Room has a lot of whiskey selections.
They might. I haven't been to the Viper Room, to be honest, in like 10, 15 years, like since.
I didn't think it was still open, but I've been watching that Tommy Lee thing, and we're talking about the Viper Room. So I had to look it up.
Show now. Oh God.
Still there. Viper Room's
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's been going anywhere for the last 2 years, but yeah, I mean, it's still on the corner.
Still in the corner. There you go. All right. Well, we'll wrap this one up as we always do by talking about where people can find us. Kerry, we'll start with you. Where can people find you?
All right. Well, you can find me on Facebook under my name, of course, and you can find our group. We have Barrel Room Chronicles, the group. You can join and find out all kinds of stuff about the podcast. I'm also on Twitter at Whiskey Swillin' Lady and at First Reel Ent. That's ENT, and First Reel is 1 ST. And real is REEL, not like it's a real thing, but a real circle thing. Twitter, I'm at Spirits Whiskey. And on TikTok, I'm at First Reel Entertainment.
All right. Phil, how about you?
Of course, barrelroomchronicles.com and firstreelentertainment.com.
Okay. Fair enough.
Phenomenal. You can find me in 3 places. On Instagram and Twitter, it's the same, at Derby City Phil, all together, no spaces. And philtalkswhiskey.com is the business for all your bourbon adventures, whether it's tasting, custom adventures, and more. We'll show you a good time.
Nice. You remember to plug your business this time.
I did.
Yes.
That's big.
All right.
Got
my name in it and everything. Hard to forget, and yet I did.
Luke, how about you?
I'm pretty simple. You can find us at Santa Fe Boutique Wines on Instagram and Luke Otero at Santa Fe Boutique Wines.
All right, Miss Beka Sue.
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Miss Beka Sue, 1K, no C's. And you can also find me at Neely Family Distillery.
There you
That's
go.
it. Just there.
Just show up, not online.
Show up. I'm there.
She's there, right there in the gift shop area. So,
How far is it from the airport?
Neely Family Distillery from the Cincinnati airport, we're about 35 minutes. And from Louisville, we're about an hour.
Yeah.
All right. See you soon then.
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
There you go. All right. For me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website. That thing's abvnetwork.com. That's the one you got to check out. We got over 3,000 shows out there. We've got a shop out there. We have our live events that we're doing 3 or 4 nights a week. So check us out at abvnetwork.com. Miss Beka Sue, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd just like to remind the audience to please give us a 5-star review that includes comments. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. If you like what we're doing, we ask you please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/the ABV Network.
All right. Great job today, gang. Farnance will have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya.
Later.
Everyone.
Cheers.
Peace. Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.